What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 Innovation Award winner, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show on the web for dads, fathers, and male caregivers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And being part of that movement, we've reached out, the team that I'm part of, to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. As always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Good morning, Ryan Knight, and happy Black History Month to you and everyone that's viewing, and or other people, African Heritage Month. We are in February 2nd, so what's going on?
Yeah, and congrats to the Black History Society for their kickoff brunch that was yesterday. Also saw it on the news, so it was great to see that publicity. And I think for the 30th year of Black History Month happening, definitely has an added emphasis on it, so it was great to see. And for those that might not remember myself, my name is Ryan Knight, one of the co-founders of the Afro-Caribbean Business Network. So we support entrepreneurs of African and Caribbean heritage, really to figure out what stage our business is in, and then help us create a strategy to grow our companies exponentially. And I am an entrepreneur myself. I run a company called Detailing Nights. So we provide mobile waterless car cleaning. We go out to people's houses or their offices and clean their cars on the spot without using water and our plant-based eco-friendly cleaning supplies. And yes, it was a detailing day yesterday, even though the cold snap, we were underground getting it done.
Underground, okay.
Yes, yeah. Definitely not outside. You can't have exposed skin today. But something I wanted to mention about Black History Month. So ACBN and myself, we wrote an article about, are we keeping each other accountable these Black History Month days or every year? So is there a scorecard that's keeping track of how we're progressing? Have we progressed? So if people want to check that out, it's on LinkedIn. ACBN wrote an article about it. But curious to get your thoughts on the progress we've made throughout Black History Month.
What's the definition of progress?
What do you use as the definition of progress?
Well, you asked me. You must have a framework.
Progress? Is it just community? Are you seeing, I would say on a whole, are we better off 30 years from when Black History Month started?
In some ways, yes, but in a lot of ways, we're not as far as we should be. I believe, let's put it this way. Are we further ahead since the murder of George Floyd? Because for a period of time after that, Black people were very, very much in the spotlight, and Black causes. Are we maybe a smaller frame of reference? Are we further ahead before George Floyd or now?
Gotcha. So my mission this month is all these Black History Month events that I'm going to or being a part of.
Were you at the brunch yesterday?
No, I was working. I wasn't able to make it.
Okay.
I did call in and give my my blessings and say congrats.
Ryan's blessings. Ryan's blessings. Okay.
You have to give a prayer and show that you respect the cause, respect our elders.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm going to be asking that question. Like, what are you using to measure the progress? If you do an event every year, how are you measuring your
the first thing comes to my alleged mind is in three areas: health, wealth, and relationships.
Right.
So in regards to health, we have more monetarily, but I don't believe we're using it to our best advantage.
Right.
Because I guess I can speak for North America. North America is a capitalistic society. So those who have monetary run things, it's a capitalistic system. So I don't feel we're as far ahead as we should be or could be in regards to that. Health, we still have a lot of challenges. I don't know how much we're moving up the needle when it comes to health, preventative, etc. And then relationships. Well, if you use social media as a measuring stick, it's a mess. So I would say those. If you say progress, I'd say in those three areas: health, wealth, and relationships. Those are the three pillars that I judge myself. And oh, well, here's a question right off the bat from The Godfather saying, "Good morning, John. For us, are relationships more important than health and wealth?" What do you think, Ryan?
It definitely contributes. I wonder if relationships is almost the thing that goes under each category. It's like in your health, do you have strong social relationships that help you stay healthy? I mean, Harvard did a full, was an 80-year study about happiness and well-being, and it tied directly to the types of friends you have and relationships that you have. If you had fewer, you seem to not be as happy and sometimes pass
Yeah.
away earlier than if you have strong social relationships. And then wealth, we know building a business is all about building relationships, one with your customers, and even people that can just support your business. So how strong those relationships are and your network is, that ties directly into sometimes your economic well-being and your overall wealth. So yeah, I feel like wealth touches on all categories.
And
I mean,
Ray,
relationships as well.
yeah, for me, Ray, yeah, relationships are the number one.
Mhm.
That's 100. No, relationships are foundational, and I, Ryan, yeah, so I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they quoted that Harvard study about the number one thing is relationships. The
Absolutely.
number one thing is relationships. That makes us ask for people who are watching live on the replay, where would you rate your relationships on a scale of 0 to 10?
Right, right, right.
That's a
And,
very, very, very big question. Uh, Also, another thing that came up, and we won't get into deep dive, and I'm glad that Ray is here. I was reading something over the weekend. The title is RBC Poll Reveals Great Divide. Canadians Split on 2026 Financial Confidence. And the overall, so RBC did a survey about 1,500 Canadians, I think it was last month. And the high level results 49% feel positive about personal finances, 47 feel negative, 49% believe that they won't achieve financial success no matter what they do, 40% willing to go through some short term pain for long term gain. Uh, and then for the majority, everyday costs are a shared barrier to achieving financial goals. So uh, there's some other things here, and maybe on because I don't think we have someone scheduled Friday. Maybe we can discuss it more on Freestyle Friday. Confident Canadians, 51% are optimistic their finances can withstand any economic uncertainty over the next year. 50% have reduced or paid off debt. 44% are following a budget, and 58% are investing in a TFSA or RSP. 40% would live frugally today to be financially secure down the road. Then struggling Canadians, 49% believe that they won't achieve financial success no matter what they do. 41% feel they no longer are in control of their financial future. And 34% have given up on trying to plan for their next financial hit. Wow. Wow.
Wow. That,
Yeah.
yeah, but that's interesting. I like that study. It's interesting to see
Well,
people.
I know going back to you think a lot of people are doing well. I said, okay, let me bring this to Ryan.
Well, the study just proved it. Majority are doing are actually not
Again,
living
it's a slight
paycheck to
study.
paycheck.
It's a slight
But
study, but
you're about to use it against me, so just
I wasn't.
remember
No, I
what,
was just
what it
bringing. No, I
said
wasn't
is
using it
actually
against you.
proving the
I was
point.
just bringing it up. I
Okay,
was
so
not
that's a
using. I
different
just
piece of the
sharing it out
story.
there, and
Yes,
which leads to another thing that
yes.
usually, well, on the first Friday of each month for a long time, we have Wayne Harris coming on the Morning Vibe. We're going to switch that. He's going to be on 7 p.m. this Friday.
Gotcha, gotcha.
So he's
Okay,
going to be
cool.
on 7 p.m. this Friday, and I'll certainly put something out on social media channels. I didn't get a chance to do a promo about it today on the show, but that's one of the things I get to do either today or tomorrow to FYI people on that. Uh, More jobs, says Dr. Vibe is working again. Well, you were with me last night, so you came on to it, and
Yeah,
again, more jobs. It's hard work, not hard work. So it's not
yeah.
work for me. It's a get to, not a got to for me.
And
So,
I loved the conversation last night. Just to plug
oh, it was
my
good.
friend can talk
Oh
because
yeah. If people want to chat, myself, Kofi Sadat, and Jonathan Juiceman Shaw, we had a great conversation about what black men are doing to support black boys, and it was some really, really good conversation. Highly encouraged. That's why you need to follow and get notifications on the Dr. Vibe Show. You get great conversations like that. It was really good. It was really good. Uh,
yeah, and the part where it talked about, can you remember a man in your life that had a big impact? I loved hearing the stories. So yeah, it was great overall. Definitely check out the replay.
So More Job says, what I mean is your style is very thought provocative. Thank you. You're saying, yeah, well, I don't do it alone. Yeah, I can put stuff out there, but the key is, are there people, you having the individuals who are willing to set the bar and raise the bar? That's so I don't do it alone. And also having the audience there like yourself, you were part of the conversation, making it very successful last night. So that's great. Morning, Fitness IQ Cam.
Ew.
We have to do a big thing for Fitness IQ Cam. We have to do one of these.
Hey, well deserved.
Well, yeah, she won on the buyblacks.com People's Choice Award. She
Yeah.
won the accounting category.
Nice, nice.
So she is a, we
Oh,
always,
she's up against some heavy hitters too. That's
huh?
she's up against some heavy hitters. Some
I
well,
don't, yeah, well, again, she has so much power. She just does it secretly. She's a backroom power person. So
yes,
she
yes,
won. So congratulations on that. All right.
yes.
Let's take a break. And when we come back from break, we'll do some housekeeping. Then we're going to have our monthly visit from Donovan Ralph Martin Sr. of the Daily Scrum. We're going to be talking about Chinese vehicles, EVs coming to Canada. And what does that mean? So we'll be back in 30 seconds.
Check out Primetime Saturdays with Aisha and Lala.
We're live every Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern
With Aisha K. Staggers.
and Laura Lala Key,
Where we try to make sense of the nonsense.
going on in American politics and culture.
You don't want to miss it.
We'll see you on Saturday.
Watch Black Canada Talking live on Sundays at 5 p.m. Eastern, where Dr. Vibe and Cesar de Mamusa give their takes and points of view on news stories from a Black Canadian perspective. You don't want to miss it.
There we go. Prime time and Black Canada Talking, not to be missed. So before we get to our house, let's do housekeeping. Then we got a few more comments here. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. We have cleared 2,060 subscribers. So our next goal is now 2,070 subscribers. See, I'm doing the incremental. I need 100. No, just little steps at a time. Also, like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Substack. And I'm debating whether I want to go on TikTok anymore because I'm seeing some things happen there, especially algorithm wise, that I'm going, sounds like it's becoming government run, US government run, so to speak, media. Join our Discord group. Please feel to email me, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com, or hit that link to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I'm a part of. Please email me, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. And can't forget Indie Soup TV, run by our good friend Dr. Tachi from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where I know it's a little bit cooler than usual in Florida. But she's warmer than us.
Yes.
Warmer than us. So the independent content creators platform, about 25 independent content creators, me being one of them, and over 28,000 YouTube subscribers in about 2.5 years in operation, which puts subscriber-wise that channel in the top 4% of all YouTube channels. All right. So as I mentioned, you know what? Can't forget the comments. Here we go. So Fitness IQ Ken goes, oh boy, she doesn't want the celebration, but she has so much power. But also More Job says, but Ryan, I believe your research persons are not under the poverty line as it seems. So it sounds like we're gonna have to do a part 2 of that conversation. It's all right. Oh, Fitness IQ, Great. You said thank you. We wanted to celebrate with you. And then More Job says, I think folks need to know how to reinvest into things that can bring about ROI
True.
instead of leaving funds in their bank and only growing 0.001% in their money. Well,
Right,
come
right.
on Friday night at 7 p.m. and ask those questions to Mr. Wayne Harris. As I had mentioned, we are bringing up from Winterpeg, Donovan Ralph Martin Sr. of the Daily Scrum News is going to be hanging out with us today about Chinese electric vehicles are coming to Canada, a cheaper alternative to overpriced Teslas. Mr. Donovan, how are you this morning?
Fantastic. Good morning, everyone.
Good. What's the temperature in Winterpeg today?
We're at minus 28. So
Jeez.
we had the week majority of the weekend was warm, so we it's pretty good. We were at around, I think, minus 17 for the weekend. So we were in a deep freeze the last week and a half, where average was minus 40, 45. So today it's only minus 28. So with the wind chill. So
Just out of curiosity, have you ever thought of moving from Winnipeg? And I'm not saying it in a bad, but have you ever thought of,
yes, it will happen. Yes, absolutely. I'm not a big fan of the winter, so
okay.
yeah, there's
Wait a
absolutely.
minute. You're not a fan of the winter? And so what drew you to Winnipeg, Manitoba? Like what
Oh,
was
this the same like every Caribbean kid. I had to go when you're young, when your parents says we're moving
gotcha,
here.
gotcha.
But you stay here, you build a life, and so. But
Gotcha.
that's good.
Okay. All right. So we're talking about Chinese EVs, and I know this probably was sparked by the deal that Prime Minister Carney made recently with the Chinese government to allow 49,000
Mm.
Chinese EVs in the country. So let me first bring it out. Why do you feel this Chinese electric vehicle deal was important enough to dive into, given everything happening in Canada and globally?
Well, the biggest one you have to think of is jobs. Since 2000, we have lost a massive amount of jobs in the Canadian auto industry, specifically in Ontario. And we'll touch on the whole Doug Ford um, backstep a bit. But we had GM here. We used to produce so many vehicles that went its way. Just recently, we lost Stellantis, right? The Chrysler Daimler plant, and
Yeah.
the Canadian government invested massive into it. But of course, the Trump administration had other issues. We lost Ford. We lost Suzuki, we lost Mitsubishi, and there's a plethora of defunct vehicles that are no longer produced mainly in Ontario and throughout Canada. And that was the Hummer, that was Saab, that was Mercury, that was the Scion, and so many more we've lost. So losing all these manufacturing, it's you're essentially losing Canadian jobs, and of course the trickle down pipeline with the parts and everything that comes with supplying a major auto industry. So looking to bring in new manufacturers is paramount for any industry.
But is it that they're bringing in new manufacturing or is it just allowing imports?
So there's with the whole trade deal, there's two phases of it. So the first phase is we need to bring in Chinese vehicles, which is again the big brouhaha was 49,000, and if you are in this industry, 49,000 is insignificant amount of vehicles
Mm,
because up until the 100% EV ban, Canada was importing less than 3% of vehicles from China. Prior to now, if you think of that, the EV market number was significantly less than that. So we had less than 1% of electric vehicles coming into Canada for various reasons.
right.
That we Tesla dominated the world, and that's what everybody knew. Now, one of the issues which was a terrible decision by the previous government is we blindly followed the United States in imposing 100% tariffs on Chinese EV.
Right, right.
And the US was able to convince Europe, Canada, and why did they do that? Well, Tesla. It was Tesla.
Yep.
It was how, and Elon Musk goes to one of the biggest factories in China and sees what's being produced there. And even the Ford CEO went to China and says, "We can even compete. What they're making." This is a direct quote from the CEO of Ford.
Whoa.
I don't want to go back. I don't even want to drive a Ford after driving an EV Ford, and that's
Did
factual.
he get fired for that?
Oh, but the point he was making is we cannot compete on
Wow.
quality and price. But so what it comes down to is the government in the U.S. passes these tariffs, and so it affected the Canadian companies because we are imposing 100% tariffs on something we don't even have in the country, and the result was, okay, well, Canadian farmers, the retaliatory tariffs will go to the Canadian canola,
Right.
beef, wheat, pet foods, and so on. And so the lifting of this tariff is significant. And again, 49,000 is such a small amount. But what that does, it allows EVs. It's a goodwill gesture. It's a start. But in if how I believe how trade works is there would be some kind of a triggering mechanism in the deals that allows it to escalate the amount of vehicles that come in. That part they'll never say out loud, which usually would mean if the Chinese government um, makes some kind of agreement to invest a certain amount into the Canadian auto industry, which we suspect will happen, where we do believe plants will be built in Canada, EV, and the first of those plants will go to Ontario.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Well, it's interesting. So let me ask. Well, I don't know how much you know about the deal itself, but I'm going to put this out there. Can you break down the new China Canada EV deal and what it actually allows in terms of Chinese EV? So it's 49,000, correct?
Yeah.
Then how soon could Canadians realistically see Chinese EVs on dealership lots, and at what kind of price points?
From everything, what I've heard is a lot of these deals kick in immediately or at the start of March or maybe
Wow.
there are some fluctuation because the tariffs needs to be they're trying to get this done very fast and proactive. And I know this stuff last year the our foreign minister met in China and spoke about this. I met the ambassador last year, and they spoke about that. They're trying. Both governments are trying their best to get some form of deal done to to speed this process up. Right now, in regards to cost, it's a wide range of cost. So, what an average Tesla is? Let's go. A new Tesla. What is it? 50, 60,000? Is that, I think, a bit?
On average, yeah. I think the
Yeah.
Model 3 is high 30,000s, and then Model S, which is that they're discontinuing, I'm hearing,
Yes.
it was like
Yes.
90,000 plus.
Discontinuing two of their models.
Yeah.
So I was at the head office for Geely. I think they're the second largest auto or third. There's so many of these companies that their growth is so exponentially in
Mhm.
Hangzhou last year. And I was looking at a vehicle that was, I believe it was around $15,000.
Wow.
And if you took out the name brand and you went inside of it, you would think you were in the most luxurious Mercedes. Okay.
Okay.
And the range was around 600 kilometers, 700 kilometers. So if you put that into perspective, And then there's a vehicle by BYD, which is Build Your Dreams, which is now the largest auto EV in the world, surpassed Tesla, dwarfs Tesla.
Really?
They
Wow.
sell an EV for, I believe it's 10,000 US dollars. It's unbelievable,
Right.
unbelievable. So we are going to be treated to a vast array of EVs. In prior to the 100% tariffs, EVs, Chinese EVs dominate Europe, dominate Africa, dominate Russia. So we've just been we're significantly behind in what's going on right now.
And
Mm.
I think they reduced the tariff to about 6% or 4 to 6% now instead
Yeah,
of
it
100%.
the tariffs are very manageable
Right.
from what
Right.
it is.
Wow. Something tells me those Chinese EVs are going to be hot, hot, hot commodity, and I'm sure that be curious if any of those manufacturers have dealers here in Canada already. Are they already taking or are you being asked for advance orders?
You know what? That's a good question. I'm not sure, but I'm positive there are people working, dealerships working to make this happen, right?
Oh yeah.
Because one of the things people aren't aware of is the majority of all the Chinese designers, they've and engineers, they're basically former heads of the Volkswagens, the Ferraris,
Yep.
the Mercedes. They've plucked the best talent from Europe for all of the companies. And I remember going to the head office of Geely, and their annual revenue it was around 60 billion US.
How much?
Six,
Okay.
60. And I remember speaking with some of the executives, and their head office, unbelievable. It's towers of buildings, and they considered themselves small because their employee cap was, I think, around just over 100,000 people.
Gotcha.
So just to put into perspective what were the quality you're
Wow.
looking at. And we can't forget that, the Canadian government, they've now realigned their mandate to have by 2035, 100% of vehicles made and coming into Canada, zero emissions for light duty vehicles. In heavy duty, I believe it's 30 to 50%. So that's a significant amount because that date was 2030, which is, you're like, well, that's 4 years ahead. And if that's the case,
Mm.
who can afford a $60,000 Tesla? There's no competition, right? So
And I
this
got
is
to go with a Bolt. But then, whatever happened to Canada building our own car? Like, with the was it the Avro
Avro. Yeah,
that was in the belt? I've heard ministers talk about it, but it just disappears in the headlines.
it cost significantly to. Um, Now it's probably more feasible because you'll have the infrastructure, right? So back then we didn't have any formal agreements with China to build things out. But the reason why it's now feasible is you'll have more investors willing to invest because there's that stability, that relationship between Canada and China is now
Yeah.
there. And then you could have the supply chain built out, right?
Mhm.
So anything that comes to Canada, they would have to be a full supply chain built out. So by what I mean is let's take BYD. They control the whole supply chain. So they'll build out the battery, everything they build in house. So there's never going out of. There's no we have to get this from the U.S., this from Africa, this from Canada. They control the whole supply chain, and that is how we would build a Canadian electric car, where they would say, okay, China, we need your manufacturing capabilities. We need you to help build out the plan, build this out, and it works for everybody because you're getting the ingenuity where that company, whoever they choose, is are going to be profiting from the R&D and the help running the factory, and it works for Canadians. You get another a 100% Canadian homemade EV, and you're building jobs. So there's a symbiotic relationship that will be there for everyone.
Absolutely.
Nice. So we want, as always, our audience is key to what we do here, and have I put out a question for the audience on all the comments platforms, or most of the comments platforms. So the question is, would you ever buy a Chinese electric car if it was way cheaper than a Tesla? Why or why not? So we'd like our audience to chime in on that. So More Jobs is saying, so what I hear is Canada has the resources to create their own e-car, but there's not enough bottom line after the material costs. Is that what you're saying?
That's partially. Yes, there's definitely not enough bottom line because there's not enough investment capital. And when you have investment capital where we could build a vehicle in scale, then the production goes down. And we just don't have that technology where you see it in China, right? And one of the best things we could say is, and you have to give Tesla a huge amount of credit for they came in and revolutionized how vehicles were built and set the standard, because what they did was die cast all their vehicles. So prior to Tesla, all vehicles were being assembled in parts, right? So if you had let's say, a Ford Mustang, the the body, so the back of the body was built separately in a factory, then the front end was built separately, then the roof was built separately, then underneath chassis was built separately, and they would go to the production line and then they would start assembling them, tacking them all together. Whereas Tesla came in and says, okay, this is structurally it's not good, and cost wise, so how do we make one massive mold to build out all of these parts? So now vehicles are built in molds. You have a mold, they essentially form the mold as you would any other product. And now you just start assembling adding the windshield, adding the seats. So it just makes the process a lot more simpler and faster. And that brings down cost. And now, if you're doing that on scale, and the beauty of Canada, we have natural resources, we have aluminums, we have the raw materials needed to put batteries together and assemble it. So, one of the things is we would likely have the refining process now done in Canada, because China refines over 95% of all EVs in the world and the batteries. So they control the whole.
Wow.
So if we have something like that in Canada, that's why they're the leading for rare earth metals. All the Tesla batteries, they're all assembled or in China, or have the components. So they control all of the batteries in the world, the process.
Whoa.
Well, that's crazy. Tim Frey is in the house. Morning, Tim, as always. He says there's another side to this tariff agreement. Chinese EVs land in Canada at scale and at lower prices. It will create a very visible price anchor that makes North American pricing look inflated.
He's right. The cost of Teslas are 100% inflated because there's no competition. Right? And then you have the biggest coup of all time. You get the U.S. government, the Canadian government, and the EU to slap 100% tariffs on your competition. It's brilliant, but it's people saw right through it, right? You profit as long as you can, and knowing the inevitable will happen, where you have to let in competition, because as of now, there with no competition, you could set the price range of the market value, right? And that's why you now hear Tesla says, "Oh, by the way, we are going to introduce a very affordable."
Yes.
Right, under 20,000. They could have done that long time ago, but there was no need for
Yeah,
competition.
no competition. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. More Jobs says, off topic, I was in a car wash towards the end of last year, and a quote, and and a quote, certain e-car, unquote, no name shut down and held up the car wash line for about 20 minutes.
Damn.
Ouch, 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 ouch. So just do a reset here. We're with Donovan Ralph Martin Sr. of the Daily Scrum News, chatting about Chinese electric vehicles are coming to Canada, a cheaper alternative to overpriced Teslas.
More affordable.
There you go. And we've got, so here's something I want. So does lower, okay, we hear a lot about cheaper EVs.
Affordable.
In practical terms, how much more affordable could these vehicles be compared to what's currently on the market, including Tesla?
Significant. So let's say, and remember, there's a mandate. There has to be a price cap for the vehicles coming in. So the government, I don't recall the exact amount, but they have to reach a minimum affordable threshold. So basically saying you have to bring in vehicles into Canada that's going to be a lot more affordable than Teslas or anything out there. So let's put into perspective, if Canada received the BYD vehicle, that's 10,000 US. Even if you added on the shipping and taxes, you're still getting a brand new EV, fully loaded. I'm talking fully loaded, as you would, for under 20,000 Canadian.
Wow.
So perspective, and that's going over 600 kilometers, fully safety, all the 9 yards. And when I say fully loaded, these vehicles come with all the bells and whistles as standard, right? And they
Okay.
have to do that because the competition is so much.
Yeah.
So there's no, oh well, obviously you always upgrade, but the upgrade stuffs are so nominal, because why would I spend X amount of dollars when I could get the same thing fully loaded by the competition, right? So one of the benefits to Canadians is there's what 1.2, 1.3 billion people in China. And so everything is done at scale. So if you're not getting the top quality, they would just go to your competitors. So we have the benefit trickle down of that any vehicle you receive, it's going to be fully loaded. And I'm telling you, I've driven in taxis in China, and you look at this and you're just like, how are you affording this? It's a taxi.
Right.
It's just a regular, to them, it's just a regular vehicle. To a person in North America, you're like, holy crap, this is you're like,
Level, right?
this is normal, right?
Yeah,
So yeah.
that's
So,
great.
and I think you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I think we should definitely address it now. What are Canadian automakers and provincial leaders worried about with this influx of Chinese EVs?
Okay, so let's hit the nail bang on the head. Is when this came in, Doug Ford went on TV and he had a big hissy fit, and I had to sit back and said to myself, why is he doing this? And it made no sense, because if you went back and listened to the speech, one of the main things he was saying is, well, there could be more. Why this is cheaper China. The words were cheap Chinese autos, and Europeans could have factories. But then you say to yourself, well, if the goal was to bring Europeans automakers, why haven't you done that? Right? Because he cannot. He's tried, but many European countries, they're like, well, why would we build a factory in Canada? It serves no purpose. So he went on this tangent, and I said, okay, under his leadership, there's been a significant amount of exodus with the auto industry. And we cannot discount the fact that his relationship with the Trump administration is rock bottom. So Stellantis pulled out, majority of GM pulled out. We have more American companies
And do
heading.
I have permission to interrupt?
Yes.
Actually, was it just in the last day or two the night shift at Oshawa, the GM plant, gone.
That's exactly what I was just about to get to.
Yeah.
So we had that shift. So then you say to yourself, okay, Ottawa is bleeding jobs, bleeding the industry, but yet you had a chance to go on the trip to China
Mhm.
and advocate for more, and you didn't. So there's all these questions. Why? So then we addressed this in a few articles, and I said there is going to be an about face where somebody's going to slap them on the wrist, and that happened. And I believe it was the big auto union basically said, um, we are losing and hemorrhaging jobs, and there's an opportunity. You're railing against jobs coming in from China, automakers coming in from South Korea. Um, I believe we just signed a new deal with Japan. You tell me, as a head of a union, what is the bad thing about bringing stable manufacturing and creating tens of thousands, if not hundreds of jobs in Ontario? And that's when he came on TV and did this 360. Oh, you know what? I overthought of it. We this is an important. It's going to create jobs.
Interesting.
So my guess is he obviously had the union head says, "What are you doing here? Cut out the
Like,
cut
right.
out the
What's the end game?
politics." Yeah, because the U.S. is not a stable partner, and the Trump administration made it very clear his job is to pull out all auto vehicles out of Ontario, and he is being very true to his word. So the my suspect is the head of the auto industry and the union says, "We've backed you. You need to take a pause. Um, eat crow and go make nice with the prime minister. Go make nice with these companies, and let's make sure you want to keep your seat." So I believe that's what that conversation happened because he was. I've never seen him more conciliatory in my life.
Yeah, you didn't hear the term spy car anymore.
Yeah, or
Him
and
and the spy car. So Tim Frey is saying, and let's bring it up here. He says, he asks a question. Could Canada build EV manufacturing here? Sure, but getting competitive means years of investment to reach scale, localized suppliers, and build up battery production. China already has that machine, and continents are positioned to do it faster and cheaper.
yeah, when you build something, so how the Chinese work, if they're coming here, they're building out full supply chains.
Yep.
So it's about convenience and efficiency. So they've already built out all of and refined all of these processes. So what I think a hypothetical scenario would be if, let's say, they built BYD came here and built a plant in Oshawa or reconfigured the plants here. Well, they're also going to put in place a battery production facility. So everything can be built there and just moved there. So it wouldn't be okay. We built the batteries here. We built the plant. Let's now only use the batteries that we're going to ship them and build them from China. What I would suspect is they would refine the process there as they do and send the parts to be assembled in Canada, or put together a full-on refining fat facility right in Canada on site for convenience, because it's about scale, right? It's so to give you an example, I don't know if you've ever seen the BYD ship that transports vehicles.
Nope.
I believe in Dr. Vibe, if you could Google this, I believe it's that ship transports, it's either 10,000 or 100,000 vehicles. It's an absurd number. It's the size of a Navy, a carrier, a U.S. Navy carrier, because of the biggest shipbuilder. It's an absurd number. But to talk about efficiency, they figured that if they could make their vehicles fold their rear view cameras completely in by a few inches, they in turn could fit, I believe it was something like three more rows of vehicles. So just by that little thing and increasing the amount of vehicles they could transport. So when I say they're about efficiency, they are 100% about efficiency.
Okay. Actually, and it take a lot to put up on screen, but there's an article here, and it says China's leading electronic vehicle manufacturer, BYD, has officially launched the world's largest carrier ship. Quote, the BYD in Shenzhen.
Yeah.
It's a 219.9 meter long and 37.7 meter wide vessel was delivered on April 22nd last year during a naming ceremony. The massive roll-off the ship features 16 decks and can carry up to 9,200 vehicles at once,
Okay.
once surpassing the 9,100 car capacity of Hugh Aurora class vessels operated by Norway's Hugh Outliners. The ship is BYD's fourth car carrier and the most advanced one so far, joining the fleet that includes BYD Explorer 1, BYD Shanzhou, and BYD Hefi, each with a capacity of 7,000 vehicles. Another ship, BYD Chanza, was launched in March 2025 and holds 9,200 vehicles.
It's
All
massive.
these ships are part of the BYD's goal to, quote, create a maritime bridge connecting Chinese manufacturing with the global market. Oh, boy.
It's massive.
This is no joke.
It's massive.
So
You
what?
think
And here's another fact here. In 2024 alone, BYD sold 76,700 vehicles in Brazil, showing a massive 328% increase year over year. The company's overseas sales for 2024 reached 417,200 units. So no jokes. No
it's
jokes.
it's significant, right?
No jokes. Some more comments here. Wow. Tim Frey is all in today, and I love it. Tim is saying labor is definitely a factor too. Chinese EV plants generally benefit from lower total labor costs, wages plus benefits, and in many cases, very high productivity from newer, highly automated facilities. In North America, Canada, labor tends to be more expensive and comes with higher benefit and legacy cost structures. So your cost per vehicle starts higher before you even get to batteries and supply chain, sorry. And more Job says, I'm not trying to be part of the future because it's here. It's is there a projective timeline when all the cars will be electronic or autonomous? Well, in a number in major US cities, especially San Francisco, there's autonomous taxis.
Yeah, I know too. And wasn't it you were just saying Donovan 2035 when it's supposed to be zero emissions?
Correct.
And then some
So
people are trying to do it earlier.
yeah, you perspective as Canadians, unless you've traveled to places like China or Japan or South Korea, we have absolutely no idea what is going on in the other parts of the world.
True.
Because of what our media tells us, right? And we also have to remember, let's take the three media, and there's a reason why I'm going to explain behind this. Is if our CBC media is controlled by the government, so we, as much as we like to say they like to claim they're independent, they still get their marching orders from the government. We know what BBC is probably hands down the worst news organization for factual information in the world, next to CNN and Fox, which again all mandated, so we're limited with what we see. So in that aspect, if we as Canadians actually go to China, you will see this is not the China of old. You're literally feels like you're stepping 10 years into the future. It's unbelievable. And so you will see automated taxis. You will see robots walking down the streets. You will see windows being washed 100% by autonomous drones. It's a different world. You see your hotels, your if you room service, order, a robot will come and deliver your food at your door by room service.
Yeah.
So it's just a whole different world that when you see this, you're just like, what the heck? What are we living in Canada? It's just a different world. And you see bathrooms self clean themselves. It's
Well, it's interesting. This is a few years ago. I was at a place run by Chinese,
yeah.
and I was ordering food, and the food was delivered to me by a robot. And this is a few years ago.
Right.
I'm saying, if this is here, how forward thinking is it in China
Yeah.
itself, right? So More Job says, I miss manual transmission vehicles.
That is a niche antique now. It's like,
Dr. Tachi, always good to have her here. She says 2035 is just 9 years from now. She also says China is so futuristic.
Oh my God.
Also, as much as the West says they value progress, they really don't if it means straying from the status quo. I think that's a very important point right there. That's a very important point. And More Job says, I feel as an entrepreneur, I think in 10 years, the world will almost look like a TV show called The Jetsons. Oh my gosh, you're dating yourself if you're talking about The Jetsons. I'm really trying to see what industry is to get into now. Wow,
Well, that's interesting he says that, and that will be a good topic for another show. Is if you would not believe the country that is outside of China that is closest to the Jetsons. And this is important. I'll give you each one guess, and it's gonna shock your mind. It's gonna blow your
Rwanda?
mind. Yes.
Oh, okay. I think you mentioned that on another show when you came
Yes.
on.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
Rwanda has flying vehicles. Unbelievable.
What?
Rwanda. Oh yeah, Rwanda is on a. This isn't the whole Rwanda of the genocide. Rwanda is on a different level.
Wow.
Oh, even Ethiopia too. These
Okay.
you would be shocked if you were to like. I'm the plan is to be there soon, very very soon, but you would not believe what's going on in Rwanda. You would feel like this is not Africa. This is unbelievable. But
Right.
again, this is what the news does not show you.
The
The
North American news. Yep.
yes,
Yep. The North
unbelievable.
American news. Dr. Tachi says, yes, Rwanda is on it. And More Job says, Rwanda, here I come in the name of self-sufficiency. I
And
love
we
it.
gotta have an exit plan. Yes.
Oh my goodness. You got to have that exit plan.
Yes.
Another conversation, just staying on the topic of the spy vehicles. Are these cars really spy vehicles, or is it more about politics, trade, and public perception?
It's 100% politics, trade, and public perception. So it's at the end of the day, it's what keeps these politicians elected, and it's great fodder for media, right? It's like perfect example. Let's use Ryan. Let's use your company, Detailing Nights.
Mhm.
You would not sell a vehicle knowing that you diluted the chemical, and once you put it on a client's car, it will strip off all the paint.
Right, right, right.
Right. So we have to put it in those lens because it makes for good propaganda. It's terrible, and that is why you see that most of the Canada are just switching over from 3G to 4G. Right, you have that issue. That
Mhm.
is why you see in vast parts of Europe and that they're still on 3G technology because they were forced to pull out Huawei's technology, which,
Right, right.
again, this is propaganda
Yep.
and it makes good. And that is why you have parts of Africa or the vast majority of the continent already working on 6G.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Chinese are already working on 7Gs because they're getting their technology from China. So in many parts, the African continent are so much more advanced than the Canadian citizens, right? And
Mhm.
it's
Oh,
you,
and America too.
Oh God, yeah.
You don't even mention America.
Because we're at the stage where we're seeing this, right? We're
Yeah.
being told, America's the best country in the world, and but then you go down Hollywood, you see miles and miles of homeless people. You see that everywhere. You see it's just a bad situation. So not just America, any country that claims to be the best in the world at anything is lying. There's only one country who could make that claim, and that's Singapore. They're the only ones who could make the claim they're the best and they're the greatest country. For one reason is
Mhm.
part of their political policies is they adapt the literally the best practice of anything going on in the world and make that their standard. So
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
so if your hospital is better for this, that now becomes the standard. So that they could make a legitimate claim for.
So Dr. Chachi says, I think Burkina Faso is also on the same technology track.
Yeah.
She also says that's the thing about having an emerging infrastructure. It allows you to implement the most modern technology. The West infrastructure is so old that they have to spend significantly to update.
Right, right.
It's true. I'll give you an example. Here in Winnipeg, around 10 years ago, if not more, we wanted to make transit better. So there was a rapid transit plan. And it's just a bus corridor. It's a bus corridor that only reaches downtown to the university, which is around, let's say, let's go high, 30 kilometers back and forth, one rapid. By the time that is done, the city was already into it for over $600 million. Okay, just for a bus lane.
Don't look,
Okay.
Donovan, we got to bring you
Whoa.
down here. There's something called the Eglinton LRT. You want
Yes,
to hear? I don't know. So you may have that in Winnipeg. The Eglinton RT is one of the greatest jokes of all time, but I regress.
Yeah, it was
I
an
digress.
expensive joke.
yeah,
Very much an expensive joke, but
But
sorry to interrupt you, Donovan,
yeah,
with
yeah.
that.
my apologies. I should probably hop now. I don't
No
want to
problem.
interrupt later.
No problem, Ryan. Ryan, we will see you on
Yes.
Friday.
Hey, good seeing you, Donovan. We'll chat
Thank
in a
you.
sec.
Yes,
All right.
Another
Take
vibe.
care, Ryan. Okay.
yeah.
Continue, Donovan.
So when it comes to value for what we're paying for, you're looking at other countries that have says, okay, well, let's do we're not even thinking rapid transit. We're thinking full coast to coast, nation to nation, high speed rail. And I could tell you, we are finally with this whole new deals in China, we're opening up relationships to say, okay, there are better ways of doing things. I was at one of they're one of the biggest tunnel boring companies, and they've gotten so good and efficient at what they're doing. They're the ones selling the equipment to the major companies in Europe who started tunnel boring, right? You have in BC where there was a big brouhaha about the Chinese company building the new BC ferries. And it was, of course, you had the politics. Well, it should have been gone to a Canadian or American firm. But let's be realistic. The cost was like 70% less. You can't compete with that because the average, I believe the average amount of ships built in America last year was didn't reach double digits.
Yeah.
And the Chinese dominate the shipbuilding industry for everyone, from military to cruises to so it just from an economical standpoint and an efficiency standpoint, why wouldn't you want the best technology and the best builders? And so we've been conditioned from the political sense to say everything you attach the word cheap when it comes to China, but in reality they're still supplying everything of the majority of products that are constructed in Canada and America. They're still being constructed with Chinese materials, but we need to add the word cheap instead of affordable to break it down so it looks like it's no good when we're using these products every day. Look at the TVs, look at your fridge, look at your stove,
Yeah.
your microwave, look at your air fryer. These are all coming from China. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So Dr. Chai says, "Oh, Donovan, I didn't realize you were in Manitoba." Uh, Tim Frey says, "Full disclosure, my company, TAF Industries Limited, has been actively engaged for the past year in developing a Ghana-based EV manufacturing hub.
nice.
The approach we're working on positions Ghana as the assembly and operations hub, supported by Morocco and Egypt as key arms of the supply chain."
That's brilliant. That I would love to know more about that.
Absolutely. 100%. Let me ask some other quick conversation pieces. If you're a worker in Ontario's auto sector watching this, what should you be paying attention to over the next 2 or 3 years?
You should be paying attention to how much, well, how can you keep your premier's feet to the fire and make sure his little speech was not performative?
Mm.
Because you want to work and you will work steadily once these jobs, once these facilities starts being built. Because you got to remember, for- if China is going to build a facility in Canada to produce vehicles, it's going to probably be 10 times the size of anything we have there in Ottawa. So they're not investing for the sake of, no, they're investing to dominate, which means massive facilities, which means massive amount of jobs. So it's a good thing, right? Working and paying your bills is a good thing.
What does this deal between Canada and China say about Canada's relationship with the US and China?
Well, we don't have a relationship with US. We have,
Okay.
it is, you know, when you have the when you have Trump insisting that anybody but the US that does business with China, it's 100 to 1,000% tariffs. That's not a business. That's or relationship. That's hostage. That's hurting the American people because the tariffs. It's the American people are paying the tariffs because these, and this is the part that never gets said. A lot of these contracts are already signed, so the manufacturer would have already been paid, right? So once these goods are landed, well, the company's like, well, now there's an X amount of tariffs. We are going to pass those tariffs on to our American consumers. We are not eating this at a loss. So, and that's the part you have to give it to the American media. They've been successfully able to spin that narrative about tariffs. It's an egregious tax on American citizens, and that message just gets lost in the way because it's been spun brilliantly, and they're not seeing this.
From your lens, how are different media outlets framing this story? And what narratives do you think are missing, particularly from Black, Indigenous, and marginalized perspectives?
Well, it has to. Okay, well, there's two senses. You know, the CBC, which again, government, state-owned media, regardless of how the CBC wants to spin it, they're framing it however the Prime Minister's office and the government wants them to frame it, right? I mean, they could try to put a cautious or diplomatic lens but they're not going to frame it as a negative or a bad thing. But then you also got to look at a lot of the news, a lot of actually Canadian news outlets are owned by larger American corporations. So that's where you're going to get that huge influx of negativity. And you just have to look at your popular Ontario local newspaper. And so, right, it's they spin it how they're told to spin it. because you cannot tell me that if you put to these same people who are spinning the news negatively and give them a choice, a $60,000 Tesla or a $30,000 BYD, and the BYD has more features, more range, more just as equivalent of safety, technology to the max, and you're getting it for half, they're not going to take the exact type of vehicle with the better performance. So it's how how their bosses essentially tell them how they have to do their job, and they have to spin it in a certain way. Now, in regards to Black and Indigenous media, um, I'm not sure because they're usually in this sense, anybody in these groups would be, they're not ownership. There's no ownership stake. So it would be more of, okay, I think you would likely get a more positive take on them. That's what I would like to think. Just like we give a very, very positive take because I've seen it, and I've seen it with my eyes, and I've been in these cars. I've been to the factory, and there's nothing to gain about saying, okay, jobs are going to be created, and it's affordable. There's no need to spin anything but what you see with your own eyes.
So, if you were a young journalist
Yeah.
to cover this beat, what angles would you insist they explore beyond the basic headlines?
No angles, just facts. Just what is your eye? What's the eye test telling you? You know, just and one of the best barometers of this is just go to YouTube and just type in Americans who've independently tested Chinese EVs. Just and you go to all the top auto, and they'll be like, this is there's no competition here. And again, like take well, let's just take the words from the Ford CEO and Elon Musk. If Chinese EVs came to America, we're doomed. So put that into perspective, right? And then you also have to say is, out of all the places in the world, why did Elon Musk start Tesla in China? Why did he choose them to do all the manufacturing and building and scaling of their products and then bring them and ship them to the US before, right? We also, the thing that's never been told is the Tesla gigafactories and all their big factories in Texas, they were inefficient. So Elon Musk had to bring over the head of the R&Ds and their supply chain from China and place them in America to bring those factories up to the standards of the Tesla factories in China. These are things that are never said, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Tim says, unfortunately, mass facilities built in Canada will not mean massive jobs unless enforced in the trade agreement. Automation is at the forefront of any builder. Hayden, Mr. Hayden Morrison's here, says corporations in the West business plan are based on 4 or 5 year election cycles, while China can plan for 20 to 30-year cycles. Obviously, communist regime. Dr. Tachi says it shows you that the U.S. is satisfied with mediocrity. So they would rather legislate and lobby to keep these EVs out of the U.S. rather than improve their own product.
100%. So we'll kind of address all three of those. The with the first gentleman regarding building to scale. You're definitely right there, but if we're going to build to scale, we need you need government on board. You need that help. You need the capacity, right? And with automation is a good thing, because one of the things is, the more automation you have, the more higher paying jobs you're actually going to need to people to handle those automations, right? So that's a significant part of what's missing. So what people tend to forget that you have the efficiency part of it where you're having robots doing a lot of the manual labor, but you need now skilled people who are monitoring those. More automation means more efficiency, more sales. More sales means more live sales agent, more drivers, more that so that trickling down comes significantly. More people doing the maintenance part of it. So in one end, essence, we are trading off the labor part of it, but we're gaining more skilled parts of it, which is significant, right?
All right. Oh, another conversation piece, and this is something I hear a lot people talking about: anxiety, charging cold weather. How do these vehicles stack up to what Canadians actually face in winter? Like what you're facing, what I'm facing. How do these vehicles stack up? I've always heard a concern, whether right or wrong, about how these vehicles stack up in with cold Canadian winters. What are your knowledge or experience?
Well, that's actually this one I know really well. Is when these vehicles first started, like any technology, there's a range reduction. It's cold, it's natural, but they've gotten to the point where they're really good. Actually, in Manitoba, in a place called Thompson, Manitoba, is the leading test facility in Canada and parts of North America for not just EVs but regular vehicles, where it's basically one big massive freezing test station, and they built them to adapt. So the positive is that these vehicles are being tested in Manitoba environment before a lot of them make it into the production facilities. You could find EVs that will take you to over 1,000 in kilometers for Chinese EVs. So the yes, in a lot of vehicles will reduce their range in wintertime, but if you look at range reductions, you're still getting on average of maybe 400 kilometers in wintertime on a reduced. That's still a significant amount of range. But like technology, a lot of these vehicles, the manufacturers have solved that problem because they're building better batteries, better forms of installation, right? So that is something I wouldn't have an issue worrying about the range of these vehicles.
Okay. What could this EV shift mean for Black and racialized communities in Canada, especially around transit, jobs, and environmental justice?
Okay, well, let's talk about the jobs first. It's going to create the opportunity for more higher paying jobs. Now, the qualifications to get those and be employed, that's a different story, right? Because how these facilities employ these people, do they say you have to have a specific qualifications, or we're just going to train you up from day one to what we want? So that's the different. I cannot answer how that would work. Um, if if it's the best of the best, then again, that will be dependent on their skills and qualifications. In regards to transportation, it lowers the barrier of entry for a vehicle. But then again, vehicle purchases are dependent on employment and credit. So
Yeah.
does
Yeah.
that change? I don't know if it will change because those introducing a more affordable EV will not necessarily change the entry level for the financial part of it. So racial justice, I don't know how that would apply in this situation, to be honest.
Do you see opportunities for Black entrepreneurs and professionals in this new EV landscape, from charging infrastructure to content to advocacy?
Content 100%, because you could never get enough of good factual content that talks it. So there's always room for content creators under which will lead to the entrepreneurship side. Now, when it comes to something like ownership in owning a dealership, again, those are all contingent on finances. Because if you were to say, I'm going to open up a dealership and my mandate is Chinese EVs, then it's just now the logistical process. That I don't know how that works. I don't know if the bigger dealerships have already said, okay, we are going to jump on this first, right? We're going to be the first to open up a BYD manufacturer, a
Mhm.
BYD. So that's very hard to say how that would shape out.
Mm. So if someone watching is thinking, should my next car be a Chinese EV? What three questions should they ask themselves first?
How long will it take to be able to purchase one? Um, what model do I want? And what is the range capacity that will make it comfortable for me? I think those would be the most simplest one. It's not should they, it's how fast can they?
Just out of curiosity, do you own an EV?
No, not yet. I have no intentions of actually purchasing a 70, $60,000 Tesla. Yeah, but actually, here's a truth. I literally just sold my vehicle this weekend, and I've been living the Uber life for the last month and a half, and I'm loving it.
You're loving it.
Yeah, because in first of all, in Winnipeg winter, warming. I mean, I will change my tune once the weather warms up. But to get into a warm vehicle without running it or starting it or
Mm,
and the what's ironic is the majority of those vehicles now are Teslas.
yes. Yes.
Yeah, they're Teslas. Your Uber vehicles are Teslas. So, but in these, you talk to the drivers, and they're like, yes, it's a on our end, it's a huge financial hit.
Yes.
So it's interesting. But yes, I could 100% see me owning a Chinese EV.
Good. What has surprised you, if anything, covering the deal between Canada, China, and US, China and Canada about the EV, or just doing this research? Because I know you've been into this story or in this niche or sector for a while. Has there anything you just went wow, or just saying, Canada's missing the boat?
Well, the for me, the very first thing I've said is for years, why are we abandoning trade with China? Let's call a spade. The last, and we cover every administration fairly. No skin in the game. The last administration, there's no other words, but we were basically the government was subservient to the U.S. in every sense of the word. We were lock stock with them with horrible policies that hurt Canadians. And then our prime minister at the time made horrible decisions. So we had lost relationships with the two largest economies in the world, horrible with China and India. So there were so many broken bridges there that it just affected our economy, affected how we do trade, and affected how we do business. So this reset is good. It's good for everyone, and at the end of the day, we need stability, and I really feel it for our American friends because you have such just good, beautiful people, and they're run by a country whose president is his president is not as desired, and it's putting the American people in a bad light, and they're not the beneficiary of so many amazing things that are happening in this world. And you have, you're the news there, the cycles, they're all siloed, and you're being told this is the best country in the world. But if they see what's going on, and again, they're very educated people, but there are the people who tune into the news silos. They don't know what else is out there, and that's the same for a lot of the sections in Canadian society. We're just siloed, and we don't know what else is out there.
Before we let you go, I also want to ask you, and this is like surely directly related. What did you think of Prime Minister Carney's speech in Davos?
Well, it was good. It was good because, well, look, there's two parts of it. It was good because it set the tone that you no longer have to be meek. You could be strong. You could say, okay, Trump, we really don't care what you say or what you do. We're going to do what's best for us. You could threats of tariffs all you want. You could threaten to invade Canada, and Trump may not understand the significance of Article 5 in NATO, but the US military generals understands Article 5, which is an attack on one is an attack on all. It would be the first time NATO allies would attack a NATO country, but the military understands that very well. Because if this happened, the first thing would go is their air bases in Germany, their air bases stationed all over Europe. All of those will be wiped out. What would happen then is you would see the Americans immediately be ostracized. You would see the war in Ukraine end almost immediately. And you would see Europe look to stabilize relationships again with Russia, because there's been many peace deals on the table and the US has blocked all of them. And now you'd have the Europeans with more of a conciliatory relationship with Russia. You've seen Europeans that says we need to forge back better relationship with China. So it would be catastrophic for the U.S.
All right. Well, I think that's a good way to end off another epic conversation. Donovan, thank you so much for hanging out with us today.
Always, I appreciate you and your wonderful guest, and I have no idea what next month's topic is, but I
Well, you know what? If we wait half an hour, if we go offline for half an hour, we'd find some.
yes,
There's so many things to chat about, and like you're here once a month. How much stuff happened just in a day? Like we could talk, maybe talk, and also the whole issue of press freedom in the United States, but that's a whole other conversation. Dr. Tachi says, great conversation. What's coming up on the daily Scrum that we should be keeping our eyes peeled on?
well, we have, of course, this Black History Month, so we dedicate 30 days to fascinating people in the Black community, not just in Canada or the US, just globally. And so Dr. Vibe, I'm not sure if we've had you a feature. I know we've done
You haven't?
so. Okay, so look out.
All right. Yeah, I'll put my shiny head out there. All
Yes,
right.
look out for that. And
Yeah, I've been looking forward to that.
and Dr. Tachi, I've always said
Oh, yeah.
we
Well,
need,
yeah, there's some people I could should
yeah, we
suggest.
need we
Yeah.
need to connect. So Dr. Tachi, I have a great thing on your bio, but Dr. Vibe, if you could share my contact information with her, because
I will do that.
please, we would love to make her a feature of our Black History Month. And
That's what I love to do. Share good people with good people.
and
And
we
Dr. Chachi says, sure.
Yes, and so we've kicked off the first. Yes, today is an amazing woman. She was the cook for former president. I'll let you read it. And then the first was, we kicked it off with Captain Larry Jet Jackson. He was the first Southwest black pilot and one of the first fighter pilots in the U.S. ever to fly the F-35s, or in Navy. It's unbelievable. And a quick story on him, because it's a fascinating story. In one of his first deployment after graduating college and military college, so it was around 23, he was stationed in Japan right at Christmas time. And he talks about the Stevie Wonder song "Someday at Christmas" was always playing.
Oh,
And
wow.
he was talking about boys playing with bombs, and his job was, if he was called on it, was to drop a nuclear bomb. So,
Mm.
he was weighing on him that if he was given the orders, he would have to 23-year-old kid would have to drop a nuclear bomb that would wipe out over 1 million people at Christmas time.
Wow.
So it's a fascinating story.
Yeah,
If you look at
that's
chapter
a
eight,
great teaser, by the way. Well done.
yeah, so it was
Well
an
done.
amazing conversation with them. So
All right. Well, that's great. Well, if you want to find out all that and more, go to the Daily Scrum News at thedailyscrumnews.com. You can email info@thedailyscrumnews.com. Let's do our usual here. If you want to get a hold of Ryan, it's at ryanoneilknight.com, and that's Knight with a KN, not an N. Also, if you want to get in touch with myself, best way is go to taplink.cc/the-VIBESHOW.com. And also, never forget, subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. And if I know a lot of people watch, but you don't subscribe, I'd love you to just make 2 clicks. That's all it is. Doesn't cost you anything. It's like 5 seconds of your time.
yeah.
And if you already subscribed, thank you so much. Tell other people about it. Excuse me. And also follow the Dr. Vibe on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Substack. And as always, you can catch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Afro-Caribbean Business Network, and Ryan Oneil Knight on YouTube. So as always, we finish off, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace. And if you're not making money, make history. Try to do both and always make it better. And remember, Black History Month is great. And actually, people don't realize this. This happens this month only once every 823 years, I believe. There are 4 Sundays, 4 Mondays, 4 Tuesdays, 4 Wednesdays, 4 Thursdays, 4 Fridays, and 4 Saturdays. It only happens once every 823 years in a month. So that makes Black History Month more special, but Black history is every day.
Sure,
So God bless. Peace be well. Keep the faith while good, and we'll catch you soon.
Have a great day, everyone.
This whole thing of using your business with plant-based products, don't you think your life should reflect that too?
Juke him, Carolyn. Juke him. The family loves us here because they're saying Fitness IQ Can says put a wig on to get in.
Oh my God.
Like the ideas are just coming fast and furious here this morning. What? Okay, look at this. Global Women Ambassador. Good morning. Look forward. Okay.